How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Abundance Talks. My name is Henry, your host, and today we have a special guest, Sydney Lish. She is an amazing person that works with stay-at-home moms to get back into the office. She is someone that has a lot of experience in helping people just live abundantly the life they want, and I'm really excited to have her on. Sydney, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Henry. I'm so excited to be here and talking with you and talking with your audience today.
Yeah, well, absolutely. So let's go ahead and just introduce you to the audience. If you want to go ahead and talk about, how you got to where you are, what you did in the past, and what it is exactly that you do.
Sure, I would love to do that. So my name is Cindy Lish, and I am a career coach, but I specialize in helping stay-at-home moms, reminding stay-at-home moms that they are not dinosaurs. So I empower stay-at-home moms with everything, right? Confidence, the tools, the skills to get back to the workforce. Because when you're at home, um, you know, the staying home, the confidence drains. Your ability to think about how you're ever going to get back to the workforce decreases with the amount of years that you're at home. It's very interesting because this is my story as well. I started out, I was an emerging markets trader, and I was responsible for $100 million daily cash flow for multiple branches of the bank. High power, high prestigious career, right? And then my bank was closed down actually by the government. It was a foreign bank. We were closed down by the government. I found another job really fast. And then I was working that job. And shortly after I started working there, I found out that my position was going to be moved out of the country. And, I was lucky they were offering me the job out of the country. But, I had a husband and I was pregnant, and that didn't fit into my lifestyle. So, I decided that I was going to, take this time, have the baby. And as soon as that baby was born, I was going to go back to the workforce. Okay. Well, funny how things happen, right? So 15 years later, I never plan on being a stay-at-home mom. But, ladies, we know it, right? That you change the moment the baby is born. And all of a sudden, going back to the workforce, it wasn't something that I wanted to do, to leave my child with somebody all the time. So we did find some jobs in in-store banking, and they were going to be part-time jobs. But the jobs required full-time training, and the branches weren't built yet. So for this part-time job, just a couple of days a week, I was doing full-time training, and there was a lot of crying involved. So much crying. I mean, it was all me, not the baby, but there was so much crying involved. And then I found out a couple of weeks after this training that because the branches weren't built, instead of us being in training for a couple of weeks, they wanted to pay us. So we had to be in training for several months, full time. So there was, again, so much more crying. Again, all of it me. And then my son, my firstborn, my son got really sick in the daycare. And we made a decision that I was going to stay home and we'd figure it out. So, I did small jobs, as many of you women have done. I did some small jobs while I was at home, and I did a lot of volunteer work, which, by the way, ladies, are great ways of building your resume while you're at home. Volunteer work, things that you're doing in the PTA, in your community, in your religious organizations, great ways to build up your resume. But I knew that I wanted to go back to the workforce. And I'm sure that the ladies who are at home right now, the moms who are at home, can hear me and understand when I say that it really was an honor and a privilege to be home, to be able to financially figure it out, to be able to be home. But every single day, I was like, how am I ever going to get back to the workforce? I felt like this is something I'm going to want to do. And I didn't want the fact that I had made the decision to stay home to raise my family to mean that I could never get back to the workforce. Okay. So fast forward, I started working for volunteering and then working for the nonprofit organization Dress for Success Worldwide. And I taught job readiness classes there. I taught job readiness classes for the libraries and a number of other organizations. And now I'm privileged to be able to have my own business where I've been doing this for several years. I've actually been working in this field for 9 years. And I've had an online business for the past 2.5 years. And I have clients all over the United States and a couple of international clients where I really step by step help those moms to get back to the workforce. And it doesn't even matter what level you're at. I have moms who have been, directors, and they come home, they stay home to raise their family. They have that same lack of courage, that same fearfulness, the same, I don't know if anyone's going to be able to hire me feeling that somebody who's been home for 20 years and has no idea what she wants to do when she grows up, and entering that next stage of her life. And to help these women to get back to the workforce. So to remind them of their value, remind them of their worth, remind them all of the great things that they've done and the common thread in them. And then how to successfully put that on a resume, because, 75% of resumes don't get through the applicant tracking system, which is a computer scanning system that looks at resumes before any human being ever sees them. Teach them how to interview so they're confident. We write great cover letters. We discover amazing jobs, and that's what I do. And it's really, really awesome to not just help people find jobs, but to really change lives, right? 40% of my clients are women who are divorced, never even plan on being in this situation, supported their husband through their careers, and then all of a sudden, white picket fence, it's all pulled away from them. So this is what I do, and I really enjoy it. It's wonderful to be able to do this for women that don't have a lot of those resources, right? You don't want to work with a career coach who's, 30 years old and doesn't even understand why you made these life choices.
Yeah, their first job is as that of a career coach.
Exactly. I remember seeing some of these jobs, seeing some career coaches, they were in their late 20s. And I would look at them and I'm like, you really can't let somebody leave their work experience on there from 1976. And she's like, I let them do what they want. And I'm like, well, no, you're supposed to be the expert. You need to tell them what to do.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm here for.
That's an awesome journey, because it sounds like you became your position through life experiences. It wasn't like this was something that from day one, oh, I'm going to be a career coach, or I'm going to be someone that helps people do X, Y, and Z. It was, you went through a struggle, overcame it, and then now help people through the same process.
Exactly. And then I worked closely, through all those years working at Trust for Success in the libraries and other nonprofit organizations and going in as guest speakers. I worked closely with hiring managers. I worked in the Department of Labor. I volunteered. I gave hundreds of speeches in the Department of Labor. I really have been in the action of where it's all happening. So I keep a close eye on exactly what the hiring trends are, exactly what needs to be done. How are we pivoting? For example, how has the job market changed now, during COVID and the pandemic that we're seeing? Because certainly there have been a lot of changes as far as hiring practices and even what jobs look like now.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a whole different world. And I think one of the values that you might provide, and this is probably good if you're listening right now and trying to think, okay, this actually does resonate. Like, I want to make a change. I want to grow. And I've been looking to speak to somebody that kind of resonates with where I'm at. Because like you said, it's a niche that you're in, someone that is currently a stay-at-home mom or in a similar situation like that, looking to get back into the workforce. And one of the things that I think you probably, and correct me if I'm wrong, lose when you come out of the workforce is connections.
Yes, definitely. And what happens is that it's really unfortunate, but stay-at-home moms sometimes feel embarrassed, right? Mm-hmm. They feel embarrassed that they've come out of the workforce, so they lose touch with the connections. At first they're in a different world, right? You're in a mommy world. It's hard to even think about that other, work world you were in, but then they're embarrassed to reach back out to them. And that creates barriers. It's very funny because I had one client, not only had she been home, she was home for 5 years. Not only had she been home, but all of her work experience was from another country. She used to live in a country outside of the United States, moved to the United States, had a child. And I was encouraging her to reach out to her connections on LinkedIn to write some recommendations for her. And I really had to push her, give her that little kick in the butt to do this, because she was afraid, she was embarrassed. And she wrote back to me after that. She's like, oh my goodness, Cindy, thank you so much for giving me that push. I'm reading these recommendations and they're literally tears in my eyes, reading the wonderful things that people have written about me, right? And it's so heartwarming to see that people still remember them for the value that they provided.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's, I think, just in listening to you, one of the values, and there's something to what you do. And if you're listening to this and you come from the Positive Mindset podcast, and that's how you found this, one of the things I talked about a lot is a process of growth, like how you can grow. And if you don't know how to grow, this is a really good process. And we're seeing it at a high level right here. So that's why I wanted to mention this. But something I talk about when someone wants to level themselves up is like this step ladder of like learning. Like, so you're developing yourself and then you're giving. So you grow and then you give. And so it's like this portion, okay, I'm going to grow and then I'm going to give this away, what I've learned. And I'm going to grow and then I'm going to give this away. And so what that looks like is exactly what you do, right? You know, you grew and then now you give away this knowledge of connections of, you know, getting people in the right door. So that way you're giving opportunities on both ends. You're giving an opportunity to the stay-at-home mom, but you're also, or whoever you could work with, but especially the stay-at-home mom, but the employer, right? Because a lot of times, like I'm an employer, I want to hire for attitude a lot of times, but the skills sometimes get in the way because of being blocked in the door and someone not knowing the attitude that you have. That's the winning attitude. You can teach skill. It's very hard to teach attitude.
Correct. I say that all the time, right? Like, going on that job interview is that, you can teach them. If you don't know a computer program, somebody can teach you that, but they can't teach you to have a good work ethic. They can't teach you to be polite. They can't teach you to be hardworking. They can't teach you, if you're one of those people that fights with everybody, they can't teach you to get along well with them, right? I just wanted to come back to when you were talking about networking.
Yeah.
When moms are at home, the rest of the world oftentimes doesn't even know them other than as so-and-so's mommy, right?
Yeah.
So, they know that you bake the best cupcakes or where the best playgrounds are, you throw the best birthday parties, but they don't know, that you're project manager, right? Or all these other cool things about you until you put that forward. And it's interesting because I like to say that whether you've been home for 20 minutes or 20 years, right, that I work with you, because I have clients who are, only out of the workforce for short periods of time or lost a job. But I even work with a lot of clients that are looking to make that pivot, right? Women that are working currently, but really looking to go into another direction, and showing how to target themselves towards that direction they're going to want to go to, and then successfully landing those jobs, or even finding out what those jobs could be and then land.
So what do you think, this is probably something that there's this thing, mom shaming or stay-at-home mom shaming, or the stuff that comes along with it, where it's like, if you're a stay-at-home mom, and I know this because my wife's a stay-at-home mom, so I see this battle, but it's like you're doing a really important job. I think if you're arguing that being a parent full-time is not important, then I don't know where that logic is coming from. It's very, very important. So when you want to, it's like, if you want to go out of that, then you have to potentially deal with people saying, well, you should be staying at home, especially if you're in a situation where it's not a financial need. Like you're not going back to work because the money is needed, or it's one of those things where like, you should be happy staying at home, getting to take care of the kids. And I'm sure most people are, but there's this emptiness of waking up every single day, not being excited about your future. And I think there's two ways to look at it. And since you deal with this, I want to hear your perspective on it, because that's probably where some people are that are listening. But if you're waking up each day, not excited about the future, having all these things you should be thankful for, and probably are, but just empty inside.
But it's not enough, right?
It's not enough,
Right?
yeah.
I should be, and I've had women say these things, right? And I should be so gracious and thankful for everything that I have, but I'm still not happy enough. So first off, the whole thing about the stay-at-home mom shaming, we're going back a long time, and we fought the wrong battle, right? With women's rights, we fought the wrong battle about what we were looking for.
Okay.
And we should have been fighting more of the battles of things that are actually in the position that we're in now, post-COVID, with more flexibility, with more hybrid, with more part-time, with more remote, with more options for jobs, because, nothing has changed yet. Still to this day, the woman is the only one that can carry the baby,
Yeah.
right? So we haven't changed that in science yet. So, it's always going to be that. So what we needed to have was more options for the mom, so that she could kind of have a little bit of both, okay, as opposed to the all or nothing kind of thing, which is the way it used to be. As far as the shaming, the people putting you down, the people saying, you should want to stay at home, or you should not want to stay at home, or whichever side it is, I feel really strongly that you have to protect what you allow people to say to you.
Yeah.
Right? That you have to only surround yourselves by the people that are rooting for you, that are on your side, that believe in you, that encourage you. And not everybody has your same point of view. Not everybody is going to agree with you. Not everybody even, unfortunately, has your best interest in mind. And if somebody is saying things to you that are hurtful to you, or you're finding hurtful to you, you literally have to somehow separate yourself from them. And I've even heard you talk about this on some of your other podcasts, about separating yourself from those people. And if it's somebody that you can't separate yourself from, then at least put in the boundaries that we're not going to talk about this, right? We can talk about recipes. We can talk about books, movies, TV, the kids, clothing, whatever, politics, anything. But we're not going to talk about my job search, or we're not going to talk about my decision to go back for a job. Or, if you say, well, why would anybody want to hire you? You're only a stay-at-home mom. You're just a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
I detest those two words. So it's up to you to have that strength to kind of, and maybe get somebody like me, like, cheerleader on your side to, remind you of that value of what you have, to help validate your own decisions, your own choices, because there are so many ways to choose what going back to the workforce even means for you, right? Do you want to go back to the career that you had before? Are you looking to be earning six figures and climbing up that corporate ladder?
Yeah.
Are you looking to do something for 10 hours a week while the kids are in school that's not stressful, but it's just fun to get dressed and put on lipstick and leave the house? Are you looking part-time, full-time, remote? I mean, and there's so many amazing new jobs out there that never used to exist before.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're 100% right. And I think one thing, so I love perspective. That's one of the things I always talk about is, I think when you have those aha moments, and it's like, to me, that's just discovering a new perspective. And this is what comes to mind when I kind of listen to what you do and how you help people, is that I believe that, everyone is essentially equal. Like nobody is, to me, more important than other. I mean, all of our lives matter in a sense of like the impact we make with people. And so sometimes when you have feelings like a stay-at-home mom that wants to go back to work, when you really dial it down, I believe, and I'm not a stay-at-home mom, so this is a perspective, but I believe that could be your conscious telling you you're not in alignment with who you should be serving. So that doesn't mean you can't serve your kids and your kids aren't important, but you might have a gift or a need or a talent to where you can serve the world in a different way, that is going to be impactful. And that's going to allow you to be a better mom, because maybe that one-on-one, the potty training, the things like that is not your gift. But there are people, men and women out there, that is their gift. And they would love for somebody to bring them in as a nanny or as a caretaker or something like that, because that's their career, that's their passion. And so by you listening to your conscious, hooking up with someone like you to get in their field, their expertise, whatever, and expanding in that way and serving others in that sense, it's going to attract income, which then is going to allow you to bring someone into your family that could help do the things that they were put here to do, or that they have the gift to do. And it becomes a win-win in a different, scenario.
Right. And you also talked about, using your gifts and then having an income for it. So when moms talk about, okay, now I'm going to have less time if I'm working, which is true, but now you have an income that allows you the flexibility to pay for somebody to do some of the things that you don't want to do.
Absolutely.
Okay, or don't have time to do, because now we're changing our priorities and, just do what is meaningful to you. So you're prioritizing that when you aren't working, this is the time you want to spend quality time with your family, but maybe I don't want to do some of these other things. And
Oh
you can
yeah.
get rid of the things that are not valuable to you.
And that's, I think when you're servant hearted in that decision, right? You're not just going to work just because you want to make a bunch of money or you want to, for those things, it's like, no, I'm really good at science, or I'm really good at marketing. I'm really good at these things. And when I'm in flow state, I'm giving my ideas, like I make whatever we're doing a better experience. And I do it with an idea of I'm trying to help everybody around me. Like if that's, of course then you do exactly that. Then you can bring other people in, let them do it, and you create time in different ways. And you're probably happier that way too, personally. And I don't know too many parents that can be their best parent if they're not happy with themselves.
Nobody could be their best anything if they're not happy with themselves, right? It all starts inside, but you have to be happy. You have to get up every day, and look forward to the next day.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's a big one. And so let's kind of dial it back a little bit. If someone is listening right now and they're thinking, oh gosh, I would love to get back into the market. Like what's the first thing somebody should do? Let's say they've been a stay-at-home parent, or they're just at home, whether they're a parent or they're just out of work and they want to get back, besides calling you, which is obviously a jump start. What's the first thing they should reflect on and evaluate?
So I want you first to think about the why. So why are you looking to go to the workforce? Are you so? And you can do that no matter where you are. If you're currently working and looking for another job, if you were at home, you lost a job last week, you've been home for 20 years, wherever you are, explore the why. So what am I hoping to get out of going back to the workforce? And then figure out what your parameters are. So, do I want to go back to the workforce because I want to earn money to help save for college or help us save for retirement or to buy a house or whatever it is, or because, listen, kids are expensive, right? Do I want to earn money? Do I want to do it because I want to be challenged? I want to get out of the house. I want to talk to other people. Do I want to figure out what you're looking for. And then start to think about what you think you might want to do. And don't just limit yourself to what you know to be job titles, because jobs are very fluid right now and titles are less important than they used to be. But think about, what am I good at? What am I good at that I enjoy doing? And again, don't restrict it to a job title, because then you're going to be able to come up with many more things out there. And if you can't come up with things that you're good at and you enjoy doing, and I really hope that you can, because it means you're in tune with who you are. But if you can't come up with things, talk to the people that are close to you, that love you and care about you, and say, hey, what am I really good at? When you think about like what I'm really strong at, what is it? Okay. So start to look at those things. Like, for example, and just to show you some of the coolest jobs that are out there, is that I have a client who handles the social media for a nonprofit bakery that hires people that have previously been incarcerated. Okay. I mean, talk about this. She's good at social media. She believes in giving back. Most of her work experience is actually from volunteer work that she's done. Okay. It was a part-time flexible job that she was working 2 days a week from home and 2 days a week from the bakery, where she could interview people and take pictures and do things like that. And each day was like 6 hours while the kids were in school. And I recently saw that she was promoted, and I saw her on PBS doing an interview about the bakery. So you never would have come up to me on day one and said, hey, Cindy, this is the job I want. Because to even think that that job exists, is crazy. But just going with, I'm about helping people. I'm about social impact. I'm about nonprofits. I'm about giving back. I'm really good at social media. Let's see what's out there. Right. So going through and looking through these things and looking at jobs, not based on a title, but just based on skills.
Okay.
Right. To start to look and see these things based on skills.
Okay. So really just like,
really
yeah.
Good step of doing that exploration. Okay. Also deciding, do you want to work at home? Do you want to, remotely? Do you want to work in person? Right? Because ironically, although a lot of the world wants to work remotely, that's not always what a stay-at-home mom wants. depends on her why. If
Yeah.
her why is I want to make money and it has to fit into this kid's schedule and everything else like that, then oftentimes it is remote. But if her why is I need to get out of this house, I need to dress nicely, I need to have someone to have lunch with, working remotely doesn't usually fit that bill.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're speaking, I am very close to that one right there. Having that place to go is very important. And so this is something that as someone that's an employee, and I would say, they call it the game, or how you get promotions, and that there's like an art and a game to that. As someone that really was naive to that, I think, in my past working experience, and just really thought, okay, well, if I work hard and do really well, that will get me to the next level, which is
That's
not
old
true.
school. That's the old school thought. That's if I work, I keep my head down low, I work hard, I do my job, and I'm going to get promoted, and it doesn't work, right?
It doesn't work that way. So
Mm.
how does someone that has always been that hard worker, who's really the person you want promoted, right? Because promotions and job titles and salary bumps and all that stuff is like not even on their mind. They're just someone that's trying to do a really good job. And sure, I'm sure they think about those things, but it's not so important that it's taking away from their job. They just are assuming if they do well, that they will do well and get rewarded for it. How does someone in your shoes who is connecting with job openings and stuff? Because we keep hearing that there's all these job openings, and there is, but why does it seem like A cannot connect with B? And if you're that hardworking individual, how do you get to that next step? I mean, of course, again, connecting with you is the shortcut, but what is that? How has that happened?
Okay, so I think that you're asking two completely different questions. So let me address both of them. So first off, you were talking about working hard, keep my head down, working hard and not getting promoted. So let me address that and then I'll
Sure.
to the
Yeah.
second. So in that one, it goes like this, is that you have to keep your eye on what's next, right? And you can't decide in 5 years from now, I'm ready for that promotion. You have to prepare yourself for it. So it means that when you're at a job, you should, and I don't mean from day one, you should start doing a really good job at this job, but down the road, you should start to look and say, what's the next step up for me for this? And what skills do I need to gain to get to that level? So maybe there are certifications you need that you don't have, right? Maybe you need to develop a better communication skills. Maybe you need to learn project management software. Maybe you need a PMP certification, whatever. Maybe you need some of these different things. Maybe you need to know how to lead a team or do presentations. So figure out what these things are and then put yourself in positions to get these things. So if you need the certifications, take the classes, right? Go online, figure out where these classes are. Do you have to pay for them? Are they free? Can you get the company to pay for them? Whatever it is, and make a pitch to the company about why it would be advantageous for them to have you get the certification. It's always what's in it for them.
Yeah.
Look for mentors, look for people that are in positions higher than yours that can, lead you in the right direction of where you want to go. And also keep track of what you've done. Keep track of what you've done, because what happens oftentimes is if you're really, really good at your job, your supervisors, your bosses may never know all the problems that you have solved because they never even knew they existed. Okay.
Good point.
So, for example, I worked with a woman and she worked for she did all the bookkeeping for a parking garage. And in these garages, I learned a lot about parking garages when I worked with her. In these garages, oftentimes, there's cars that are just kind of abandoned there. Like people get these leases and then they can't pay the leases and they abandon these cars in these parking garages. And there's months and months of unpaid parking rent, things like that. So she was able to recover like $600,000 worth of unpaid parking rent for the company, income for the company.
Wow.
But like nobody ever knew it, right? Nobody ever knew that she was doing these things. When she got emails from clients about what a pleasure she was to work with, she never forwarded them to her bosses. So again, she put out all the fires, she solved all the problems, but nobody knew that it was happening. So then they would hire new young people to come in. She would train these new young people. They would move up around her and she'd still be stuck there, right? It's also a matter of asking for those raises, coming in, asking for those raises, showing, being able to document, keep track of what you do. Keep track of what you do. You're going to need it for your resume. You're going to need it to ask for raises. You're not going to remember everything you do. But if you could come into the company and say, this is what I have done for our company since I've been here. I was able to do this, this, this. And you're showing the value. You're showing in dollars and cents what you've done for them. That's how you move up in an organization. Okay, because you're showing what you could do for them.
Yeah, that I hope if you're listening, you really paid attention to that, because I actually was just giving that advice to somebody who, in an organization, I'm always looking at succession planning, and somebody, coming in and taking my place. And there was someone that is extremely talented, and they're the epitome of never making a noise. And when they were a couple positions below where they're at now, I told him, I said, I had no idea you were good at your job. I honestly thought you weren't. You were one of our weaker ones that just knew how to sell, because you never speak up. And it wasn't until things got so bad at your location that other people got fired, and by chance you had to step up and to talk, did I realize how good you are at what you do. And if you want to go to the next level, you have to share that. But listening to you say it, it was clicking within me, because when asking for raises is something that's always been really tough for me. It's not something I don't know. I never liked doing that conversation. And
Confrontation, right?
most people don't.
Most people don't like it.
It's like asking someone out. You're going on a limb, you get turned down, except even if you get turned down, you have to see that person every single day still with it. So I totally get that. But if you don't do those things that you mentioned, like track your success and stuff like that, somebody else is.
Yep.
And they're going to get the leg up on you. And I believe that if you truly want to serve others, then you owe it to other people for you to elevate your career, so that way you can service more. Because generally, if you go up in position, you're influencing on a larger scale, depending on the, position type. So you owe it to, everyone to do this. So that's such an important piece. And I'm glad you shared that.
Now, let me hit your second question.
Okay.
Your second question, you were telling me, and it is true, that it really is a job seekers market right now. And there is an abundance of jobs right now. But why are people having such a hard time getting the job? Yes. I'm going to tell you exactly why people are having such a hard time getting the job. Because they're lazy. And by lazy, I mean that they're not putting in the effort that they need to get the job. And let me paint a picture for you of it. And then let me go down and explain it step by step. Okay, so, there is very little opportunity for you to show how great you are for this job. You have a resume, which is 1 or 2 pages, and then you have a cover letter, which is 1 page. That's not enough to really show, hey, this is who I am. I'm Cindy. Look how freaking awesome I am. So you need to put in 110% when you do this in order to get the results. So that really, honestly, and truly means that you have to change your resume and target your resume for every job you're applying for. So it's never one cookie cutter resume. It just doesn't work. Okay. And even if you're applying for jobs with the same job title, they're going to have different job requirements. So that's why you're targeting it each time. Your cover letter is an amazing opportunity to shine and be able to write things that can't appear in a resume, have wow openings, give little stories, to give some insight into who you are. Now, understand that putting this together, number one, it's to get past that applicant tracking system, of which 75% of resumes don't get passed. Correct. Translation, only 25% get through. Number two, a great cover letter puts you in the top 10%. Really, really great place to be. And the higher up a position you're going for, the greater the chance is that the cover letter is going to be read.
Correct.
Okay. So now most people don't do this, even people who are working and looking for another job, even people without gaps. Why? Well, because it takes time. Okay. But this is your reflection of you. This is your brand. Yeah. And I know it takes a lot of time to do this, but you're trying to say, this is the effort I put into the work I do. So now if you're not willing to put in a lot of effort into the work that's only about you, representing you for something you want, which is to get my job, how much effort do I think you're going to put into the job when you're working for me? Right? This is your brand, as well as fixing up your LinkedIn profile, checking out your social media, because yes, you will be Googled before you're calling it. You
First
called in for
thing,
an interview.
first thing we do.
All those things. So here's one of my favorite analogies about this applying for the job.
Okay.
And targeting it. It's like, let's suppose I invite you over for dinner and I want to be really, really impressive. So I make a standing rib roast, and for dessert, I make a flourless chocolate almond tart. And then you come over and I find out that you're a vegetarian, okay? And you're allergic to nuts and you don't eat chocolate and you don't like chocolate. And here I was thinking I was doing everything that was really fancy, really expensive, but it was all wrong. And if I had, the same way, we always, listen, a lady doesn't ever go to a social event without checking first and figuring out what's the dress code, how should I be dressed, what are other people, right? We put in that kind of effort before we do this, okay? You want to put in that same effort with the job search, as difficult, as much trouble as it's going to be, because that's how you're going to get the results. If you don't do it, you allow yourself to fool yourself into feeling that you're working really hard, when it's just maybe sending out hundreds of resumes a week, but you're not targeting anything, right? I work with someone and they were in HR and I'm like, oh my goodness, they should know better. We started working together. Like, I've applied in the past 15 months, I've applied to 2,000 jobs, nothing. Do you want to see my emails? I'm like, no. We worked together for 5 weeks and they were employed in their field. Right. I mean, just really changing these things up, it makes a big difference.
So one thing, and I think I'm aware of this because of the field I'm in. I'm in the, self-help, personal development. I work in fitness. So I'm really in this realm. And whether you went to college or not, if you went to college, that was probably, there maybe is some education on how to apply for jobs, like maybe putting together a cover letter. It's going to be super outdated, whatever you're learning, and it's going to not be very beneficial. So for one, I think it's fair to say, if you're listening to this and you're like, well, I don't know how to do that. I mean, I just go on Microsoft Word and it tells me how to make a document. And so that's baseline. That's what most people are starting at. And the fact is, as we continue to evolve and then work environment, all these things, it's going to get more and more competitive. And there are coaches like Sydney that exist. And because they exist, people are going to them. So you are going to be going against, whatever you decide to do, somebody that is working with a coach to develop, whether it's a personal development coach, whether it's a, entrepreneur coach to start your own business, whether it's, all people, if they want to go to the next level, they're looking for people that are experts in a niche to make them better. And so if someone was in the shoes and their last resume was one that they made on Microsoft Documents and they followed the thing, and say they were to come on with you, how do you help them through that process?
Well, I mean, so it goes like this. So I have a lot of free resources out there. I have a YouTube channel, I have websites, I have blogs, I have videos, I have a private Facebook group. I have a lot of free content that's out there. When I work together directly with my clients, it's a combination of a hand holding and kicking you in the butt. We do one-on-one video Zoom sessions together where we are literally targeting your resume to every single job. But what I'm going to tell you that you might find to be interesting is we're not going to start and say on day one, work on fixing up a resume until they have a job we're applying for. We're always targeting a resume directly to a job, okay? And writing a cover letter directly to a job, okay? So we work together on making that resume to fit that job. We work on interview prep. We work on intense mock interviews. We work on a LinkedIn. We work on finding the right jobs. We work on your brand. We work on cover letters. We work on those job applications. I mean, we go through the whole process. I also have exclusive content. I have modules and videos exclusively for the women that are in my programs that are never going to be, on Facebook or on YouTube or anything else like that. I also do reviews, intensive reviews for my clients of these resumes and the cover letters. Again, not just looking at a resume, but looking at the resume, the cover letter, and the exact job postings, because that's going to show, are you doing the right resume for each job, right? And that makes a difference, right? I worked recently with a woman. She was in high-level communications, and when I saw her resume the first time, I will tell you honestly, it was a really good resume. But she had been looking for a job with that resume for 2 years and had gotten not one offer.
Wow.
Okay. But I taught her how to target the resume to each job. We wrote amazing cover letters. We did intense interview prep. She said, she's like, Cindy taught me how to be from just one more resume to being on the top of the pile of resumes, and then I helped her through 6 sets of interviews at the same company to get the job. So, you'll probably identify with the word, right? In a way, it's a holistic approach, that it's not just a resume that gets you the job. A resume doesn't even get you the job. A resume gets you in the door.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's going through all these things. As far as when you were talking about, having one of these template resumes, yeah, I'm probably going to have you lose the template resume.
Okay.
Okay. I'm probably going to have you lose that template resume. They're actually less user-friendly than you think they are. They don't allow you to move things around as much as you would like. They don't always have the sections the way they should be. We're going to make sure that you have a summary rather than an objective, because a summary is, this is what I can do for you, right? And I'm looking to hire somebody for what you can do for me, rather than an objective, which is self-serving. An objective tells me, I am looking for a role where I can use my skills and learn and grow, and I'm not hiring you.
It's kind of a turnoff when you see that on a resume.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to do that. We're going to make sure that we take off anything that's outdated.
Okay.
We're going to make sure that we're taking off outdated terms, right? I still see resumes that talk about World Wide Web, that talk about word perfect, and talk about typing speed, and things that we just don't use those things anymore, right? We're going to make sure that we're going back 10 or 15 years of work experience. So chronologically, that could be more than 10 or 15 years, because if you have a gap, it's going to be longer. But we're not putting every job you ever had since you scooped ice cream at 16.
Yeah,
right?
That doesn't make the cut. The ice cream job.
It doesn't make the cut, right? We're going to be looking at the years that you have put on there. So your college, we're definitely keeping your degrees on there. But if, you graduated from college like I did, 100 million years ago, then we're not putting the year in, but just the school and the degree. On the other hand, if you went back to school, and they noticed so many people miss this, if you went back to school while you were at home and you earned your bachelor's or your master's, or you got a certification or anything else like that that's relevant, let's bring that all the way up to the top, because that says, hey, while I was at home, look at the things I was doing to advance myself. Yeah. Look at the growth that I had while I was at home. Right. So the structure of the resume, and we're going to make sure that your resume talks about accomplishments. We're going to make sure it talks about where you made a difference, rather than just a list of what you did. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge.
Right? It's huge.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, because I'm just thinking about that as I would see resumes with these, touches on it, how much they subliminally affect you. How you would almost put judgment on one as it comes in, and it's not, in a way, as a recruiter or someone that's hiring, it's not intentional. It's not like, oh, I'm just not going to do this person, but it's just, there's certain things on there that you don't even realize can be off-putting, like stuff that's self-serving, like your objectives.
Well, honestly, it also shows that you are not relevant, that you don't know what should be happening right now.
Correct.
Okay. So hiring managers are looking to get rid of all the because listen, they can get hundreds, sometimes even thousands of resumes for every job. So the idea is to eliminate all of the ones that don't check these boxes, so they have a lot less to even think about going through. Correct. Right. And it starts with the computer system before a person even does it. But they don't need a reason to call you in for that interview. They don't need a reason. Right? You need to give them that reason to show them why you're great going on there. Right? Yeah. And with cover letters, if your cover letter is starting with, dear sir or madam, I am writing to express my interest. I mean, just start over again. Yeah. Right? That's not how we're going to write a cover letter ever.
So what would you say on the hiring side? So companies that are looking to recruit, what's the biggest thing that they're looking for right now?
So, I mean, they're looking for somebody who is, first off, understands what the job is about, right?
Okay.
Somebody who's done their homework, okay, and shows that they've put in the extra effort, that they understand what the job is about. They're looking to make sure that everything you put forward is error-free. And I know it sounds so ridiculous, but there are so many things that come through with mistakes, with errors, with typos,
Yeah.
with grammatical mistakes. Okay. They're looking to see that you have researched their company. So in that cover letter, there's looking for a connection, that you understand what their company is about. Okay. That this is not just a generic form letter. And they're looking, the idea is that they want to see that when they're looking at your resume and their cover letter, the idea is it should look like you're a fit. Like, yes, this person really can do this job. And that's what you should be thinking about when you're putting yours together, is showing that you can do that job, and understanding that you're trying to put forth your passion, especially in that cover letter. And then understanding environment, right? So, for example, if you're going for a job in, let's say, in law or banking, that cover letter is going to be straightforward, to the point. There isn't going to be any flair. It's going to be very direct. If you're looking for jobs in almost anywhere else, you're going to be looking for something that's a lot more creative. When there are words, there are hints in these job postings of what they're looking for. So if you're reading a job posting that uses those cliche words of, out of the box thinker, I want to see something. I want to see examples on your resume of what you've done that's innovative and out of the box, not just I work towards the standards and the norms. I want to see a story on your cover letter that shows me something really creative and wow. Right?
Yeah.
The idea is that you understand what it is. You understand them. You get them.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is a difficult part when you're applying for tons of jobs, to take that time. And that's probably, patience is probably one of the biggest thing that you're coaching, as far as like, it may seem like that's job application number 75, but to each person it's going to, that's to them, they should feel like they're the number one.
Right. But it gets so much easier.
Okay.
I will tell you honestly and truly that when you understand what you have to do, it gets a lot easier. You're not starting from scratch every single time. There's going to be a lot of parts of your resume that are going to be the same, that you're saving your resume each time as, your name and the name of the company, and saving it. And you'll have those bullet points to pull for the next one. So you're not starting from a blank screen each time you're doing it. You're going to have sections of your cover letter that are going to be the same, but there are going to be sections that are going to be different. Okay. But it gets a lot easier when you figure out the key to figure out what they're looking for. Okay. When you realize, this is how I can write a wow sentence, right? This is how I can write something that's really outstanding that they're going to pay attention to. Okay. When you get yourself out of that mindset of the old fashioned way that you applied for a job. I'm excited to apply for the job of such and such as posted on Indeed. As you can see from my resume, I am, when you get yourself past that and realize you can do it in a more creative way, it gets faster and easier.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And it's a huge thing to do, because like you said, you're applying against potentially hundreds of people. And so you want to stand up. So this is probably the question that always goes through my mind, and I'm sure it's in a lot of people's mind as well. But let's talk money. So if you're a stay-at-home mom, or you're someone that's looking to get into a different field that you want to do, what type of salaries are you seeing people getting? Like, what is out there for people?
So it's everywhere. So it really depends on, what level are you entering at? Are you working full-time? Are you working part-time? I definitely have clients that are earning $130,000, $150,000, $70,000, $80,000. I have clients that are earning, $30,000. What kind of job are you looking for? What kind of hours? You can't compare somebody who is looking for something that is 10 hours a week with somebody who's looking for something where they're working, 60, 70 hours a week,
Okay.
what kind of, and going back as a director. And yes, I have people that have gone back to the workforce with gaps in their resume that have entered the workforce at a higher level with more money, even making pivots than they were when they left. Okay.
Wow.
But, exactly. But, I mean, there are so many different types of jobs out there, right? I have a lot of clients that are in marketing and communication. I have a lot of clients that are in IT and project managers. And, there are people I have scientists and people that are in pharmaceuticals and people that are in administration, administrative and a lot of nonprofits and, event planning. I have a client, she does part-time event planning remotely,
Wow.
and she does it, and a lot of that comes from volunteer work that she's done. Because ladies, if you planned events at the schools, you've done event planning. If you've
Yeah.
renegotiated with, the photographer and everything else like that, you've negotiated with external vendors, right? There's a lot of accomplishments that are here that you may not be thinking of that can be put on these resumes,
Do
right?
sometimes when people come to you, and this just came to mind when you were sharing that, do they have an idea of like it's either based on what they did prior or what they went to school for or what they want to do? But then after getting to talk to you, they realize that they might want to do something else and go that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I really encourage that it's okay to apply for jobs in multiple directions.
Okay.
Because first off, number one, wouldn't it be great to be in a position to choose? Right.
Yes. Yeah.
And many of my clients wind up getting two job offers, but wouldn't it be great to be in a position to choose? Also, you may have multiple interests and then, which one is going to come first, where you're going to get the offer first, which environments, and choosing a job is not just money. It's
Correct.
what is the opportunity for advancement? Where am I going to be happier? Which kind of office? What's the commute time? Is it remote? What are the hours? The salary, the people I'm going to be working with? What kind of autonomy do I have? I mean, there's a lot of things that are there.
Yeah.
That you're looking for. But yeah, and sometimes I'll have people, I had a client recently and she had done a number of different things. She was a life coach. She had her own business where she taught nutritional education classes. She had done some mentoring in the communities, things like that. She had worked for a long time ago, back, before kids. She had worked in offices, but she didn't know which direction she wanted to go in. And she is now working as a health coach where she's using the administration skills that she has, but she's also using her life coaching skills, her nutritional knowledge, all of that stuff to empower other people. And, she said, it's like, you came in and you saw that common thread, right? In all the things that I was doing, and you kind of put it together and saw that it actually led in a clear direction. And she came to me, in the beginning and says, I just have no idea. I have no idea what I want to do when I grow up. Sometimes I'll have clients who even decide to then go out on their own. But working together gave them the courage to believe in themselves and what they can do. I have a client who went out on her own as a bookkeeper, and I was helping her to start to get her clients. But up until then, she didn't even realize that this was something that was in her toolbox.
So that's what I was wondering. Yeah, you able to share perspective helps them find that level that they're supposed to be at. So the big question, if you've been listening this whole time, is how does somebody get to you? What is the process? What does that look like? Where do they go? Is it a website? Like how do we get to there to where they can take this next step and, expand into something that they love?
Absolutely. So the simplest way is to go over to my website, which is cindylish.com. My name, CINDYLISH.com. On that website, you're going to find links to everything. There are links I have a free masterclass that you can sign up for that will 4 simple steps for stay-at-home moms to confidently return to the workforce. I promise you will feel empowered after watching that class. There are links on my blogs and video page. There are links to all of my YouTube videos, plus tons and tons of blog articles. on all different topics, all related to getting back to the workforce. Everything from the confidence to mastering the interviews, to the resume, to finding the job search, to which job search boards to use, to how to dress. I mean, you name it, it is all there. You can watch me, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Again, it's YouTube.com/Cindy Lish. There are also links on my website to this. I have a Facebook page. I have recently started an Instagram. And I also have a private Facebook group for just stay-at-home moms. And I do special events in that group. So I'll do resume hot seat events in there. I'm in the group every single day so that if you have job search questions, you can pop the questions in the group. I answer them personally. And, you have a whole community there as well. That whole, we are more alike than we are different. It's everything that I do. It's a safe space, right? And if you're in that Facebook group, it's a safe space. When you work with me one-on-one, it's definitely a safe space. It's just you and me. I promise you, I have heard it all. I have seen it all. Some of it my own experiences, but a lot. I mean, I've 600 women. I've been there. Okay, I know what you're going through, and there's no judgments. There's no judgments about why you made decisions. There's no judgments if you're going through a divorce. And I had this woman, and she's like, I know that I could probably do this job better than anybody else, but I just don't know what I have to do to get that job. Okay. Yes, happily back at work, so there's no judgments. I'm here to help you to reach your goals. That's what we do. That's what we do.
And I felt that last comment of, I know I can do this better. I just need to get there. And so I think that's the most powerful probably thing for you. To that point, I'll put a link to your website in the description so that way people can jump right to your website. And what closing comment, what do you have to leave someone that hopefully if they're in that lost state, or maybe they're not lost, it's just time to make that next step. It doesn't always have to be, where I'm in a position of desperation to make a change. Sometimes someone is just like, okay, it's time. I'm ready to go to this next thing. What is the last piece you have for them?
So just to realize that you can do this, that you are a warrior. You have been through difficult things in your lives. Certainly, finding a job is not the hardest thing that you have faced in your lives. It's just a matter of saying, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to put on my big girl panties. I'm going to do what I have to do to go out and get that job. And I'm going to work hard towards getting the results that I want. But you're strong, you're capable, and 100% you can do this, and you have skills that employers are interested in, even if you've been a stay-at-home mom.
Perfect. Well, Sydney, I absolutely appreciated this conversation. There's so much, and not just for stay-at-home moms, for anybody to benefit in this realm of stepping up to the next level. And yeah, and
thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure to be here. It's been great to talk to you, and I appreciate you having me on here.
Absolutely. So if you want to find her link to her website's in description, check it out. There's a lot of positivity. There's a lot of just perspective from all the content that you put out there, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, the private groups, whatever you're going to. I've been following you for a little while now, and I just see it's just constant perspective and enlightenment on how you can change careers, get back into your career, how you can get that confidence back. And it's good for anybody, but especially those stay-at-home moms that really just need that guidance to get back into the field that they want to get into. So thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to give it a rating. A positive rating makes it more discoverable. So I appreciate that. Please share it if you know somebody that would benefit from something like this. And then we'll have another episode for you next week.